YouTube is full of videos about good knives. It's full of videos about bad knives. It's high time that someone makes a video about weird knives. This is 3 Weird Knives, and I'm your host, JJJinks.
Let's get weird.
Let us begin this episode with this little keychain knife. My girlfriend actually found this one. It was in an antique mall. I believe it was somewhere in Pennsylvania, might have been West Virginia, something like that. Well, it's not in the greatest condition, but maybe it is for all I know. I don't know anything about this knife. It's a kind of a futuristic looking space pistol, and there's a little tiny person straddling the top of it with their own little space pistol. And on top of that space could it just go on forever? Is it like the nesting dolls of novelty knives? And on the side it says, I've really tried my hardest to interpret what this is. H-E-N-U-F? Henuf? Well, on the other side is written victory. I've tried to find as much information as I could about this knife. I couldn't find jack shit. I did find at one point one of these was listed on eBay. Not a lot of information. It was on one of those like eBay tracker sites that you have to like pay money to gain access to. So it's I think this henuf is a French word, but it doesn't mean victory. So I figured, one language on one side. No. The construction is pretty simple. A couple of rivets. You got one here for the blade pivot. And then you have another one right here above the handle, but it doesn't go all the way through. Presumably that is to hold the two halves together. There's also a hole in the top, the purpose of which remains a mystery. Was there something here? Or maybe that's just an access port so you can oil the pivot? I don't know. A very interesting and unique find. Next up, let's have a look at this knife. It's very yellow, very cheap, very commemorative. OJ's Last Run, June 17th, 1994. From fame to shame. We have the image of his Ford Bronco and the image of OJ himself. What I find the most interesting about this knife is it's kind of commemorating the chase scene. You know the one. It's not really commemorating his capture. And I got a feeling that this came out before the verdict was reached, because it's sort of celebrating his downfall. Well, I mean, I guess you could say there was some kind of a downfall, but it didn't stick that well. Yes, I saw this knife and just had to have it. It is very shitty in quality. Very stiff pivot. Bunch of rust on it, but it's shiny. And it is actually made in the USA. There's quite a bit of play to it. And there were a couple of nicks and chips on the edge, which means somebody actually used this thing. Someone put this into their pocket and say, I love OJ's Last Run so much that I'm going to use this knife. And so they did. I think I would like to see more knives commemorating the capture of people who are on the lam, Hey, Ted Kaczynski recently died. Is there a Kaczynski capture commemorative knife? Probably not. But my absolute favorite thing about this knife, you may get the reference, is that to commemorate OJ's Last Run, they chose to put it on a knife. How fitting. And to top off this episode, I have one of those cheap commemorative knives that are in these flimsy wooden boxes that you see once in a while. Got this at a local flea market, and I don't know how to prepare for this. I'm just going to open it up and show you. Yes, it's the CRT knife. I don't know. Okay. We'll just talk about what this is, what we're seeing here. We have one of these images of kind of an indigenous tribal-looking people wearing traditional decor, and the knife is a beefy, some kind of metal. It's heavy, it's not aluminum. Probably some kind of a zinc alloy thing. Folding knife that has almost like a leafy spear point kind of blade, made in China. It's backlocked, a little bit stiff, but the walk and talk is actually kind of nice. And it's so handle heavy that it is a bit awkward to hold. This would make a good envelope knife, envelope opener kind of deal. And then there's a golden fish up here by the bolster. The inlaid photo was just stuck behind an acrylic insert, and it almost looks like a prank knife, you know, the kind where you pull it up and it shocks you. Trust me, I know. It's actually not as bad as some other commemorative knives that I've seen. And of course, on the back of the box, they have a photo of what they inlaid into the handle, but now you get to see a little bit more revealed. Yeah, this is one of those indigenous tribes that wear plant husks on their ding-dongs. So, why does this exist? The only thing I can piece together from my imagination is that a bunch of people sat around a boardroom in a company and said, we want to make commemorative knives that for all kinds of different markets. Someone threw out the idea of, what about natives of some kind? Okay, let's do a Google image search. Print it, ship it. We'll use that. So, it's not so much that it's offensive. I guess the word I'm looking for is it's insensitive, but probably not on purpose. But I'm glad, because it is such a weird find. Like, imagine my face when I opened this box, and I immediately was like, I'm buying it. I gotta have it. Don't know what I'm gonna say, but I had to have this. And then it kind of makes me wonder, what other commemorative knives were made in the same way, where it's like, I could see what they're going for, but it's a bit on the insensitive side. A little bit of a failure from marketing, but they just didn't know any better, right? How many of these could exist out there in its various forms? Oh. Well, that concludes this episode.